So BVS Prathap is a risk management consultant with an MBA, FRM, CIA, and fintech enthusiast. So he's a fintech enthusiast with 26 years of diverse industry and geographical experience. He worked with Citibank as ORM head for Bahrain and Qatar and complaints lead for MENA. Worked with ICICI India and currently owns his own consulting firm. Now, as a consultant, he works with banks, NBFCs, insurance companies, fintechs, telecom, retail chains in areas of governance, risk, and compliance. So that's, in short, BVS for you. So BVS, let's kick off this particular podcast with the first theme on heritage and legacy, the foundations that shape us. So the questions are around how do you see the role of storytelling and oral traditions in preserving cultural heritage? That's number one. And in today's fast-paced world, how can we maintain a balance between preserving traditions and embracing modernity beliefs?
Thanks, Ravi. It's an interesting question. Before I answer the first question, I want to actually say, why do we even need to preserve cultural heritage? If you look at corporates nowadays, they want to preserve a certain culture. Say, for example, risk management culture. They want to have, everybody should have a risk management culture. They want to preserve it because they want to pass down the lessons we learned. That's exactly what societies do. So our forefathers have learned over a period of time by doing mistakes. Like, we do something, it didn't work. We did something unethical. We did something without integrity, it didn't work. So that's how the society learns how to be having the moral values, ethical values, etc. Right? How do you pass them forward? So one of the best ways is, of course, storytelling. That's the reason even corporates nowadays are adopting that. If you, there are some books around this. A lot of people who actually do their entire career is about storytelling. If you look at LinkedIn, there you'll find some guys on only doing storytelling. The concept is that is the best way to pass on whatever is learned in the past. Right? That's how. So basically, that not only lessons learned, it also lets us pass down the core values of society, core values of a corporate. So it's the same thing, right? Also, it reinforces the behaviors. It keeps, if we tell somebody like, this happened in the past, he did this and he achieved something. So what does that do to the person who's listening? The person who's listening is influenced, he's inspired by that. And then that reinforces that, this is a good thing to do. So that's how the stories influence everybody. So looking at our own, this one, culture, just imagine, like, go back to my own childhood. I came up listening, I was brought up listening Satyaharischandra story, for example, which is about truth. Shibi Chakravarthi story, which is about charity, self-sacrifice for others. Heard of Karna, again, charity. So a lot of these stories actually, as a child itself, puts beliefs actually that reinforces the beliefs in us that these moral values are good. Indian story is not just about ethics, but there are also like things about entertainment. Actually, there are stories about Vikram Betal. There are stories about Vikramaditya, which a lot of people think Vikram Betal is the only part of the whole story. Right? Actually, Vikramaditya stories is much larger, like maybe 300 times the Vikram Betal story. And then there is one Kada Sarit Sagara, which is a bunch of stories, which looks like it's entertainment. But actually, it's not just entertainment. It actually brings out what are the core values of India. So which I'll come to a little later. But then those core values is what it brings up in the whole stories. So that's one thing. Also, we had, by the way, just one thing I just remembered something about Ace of Fables. Ace of Fables are actually from where? They are from basically based on Indian Panchatantra. So that's a very interesting thing to note. Like the moral stories of the West are basically based on the moral stories of India. But unfortunately, we don't learn it nowadays. Nowadays, the storytelling is reduced, right? So that's one thing. On the oral tradition side, again, a lot of things like what we learn from our parents, what our grandparents tell us stories like. I'll just give an example. My father told me this as a kid, right? In our village, we're from agricultural society. Everybody depends on agriculture. So there is a canal, which is irrigation canal, which comes to the which gives water to the fields. But obviously, every year it gets silted. So who removes the silt? It's not the village society. It's not the government. It's the individuals. So every house, small or big, they send one person with one tool. Doesn't matter what big tool, what size of the tool. It just depends on their ability. That's it. They go together few kilometers, like 6 kilometers of the entire canal is desilted every year once. So this is a social cause, right? So when I listen to this, what do I learn? I learn that society lives for each other. It's actually benefit of society, but nobody's asking questions like, why is government not doing this? Why is village society not doing this? Why is somebody else not doing this? There's no blame on others. Everybody's doing their responsibility for society, right? So if I learn these kind of things during oral tradition, that puts me on a strong hold. So that brings me to the next question, right? How does that influence my leadership today? Okay. So if I look at how I see people around me, it's not always me first. It's not like, okay, I want to achieve something in my team. I want to achieve something in the company. What happens now is, because of my background in this kind of oral tradition, storytelling, what I learned, I will put others first. I'll put the team first. I'll put the company first. So the company, if anything is going against company, that is something which I will not tolerate, right? So ethics is something else. Ethics automatically comes because of this. But first thing is what preserves the company's long-term value. Its second thing is ethics and all those things, right? So that's how it comes. So how does this come? This comes from the oral traditions, both from the company and from personal values. That's what I would think.
Okay. Yeah, I want to tickle something else also, right? Your father's story is making me ask the question. So with that kind of a background where people actually come together and serve the society at large. And I know, and many of the Parthi batchmates actually know that you played a significant role with respect to maintenance, both in Vrindavan and Parthi, right? Can you give a bit of a brief? And I heard one thing where I think you got a shock on the top of the pole and fell down or something like that. Something happened. What happened?
Oh, okay. Just to give a little bit of background on that for listeners who probably are not from Puttaparthi. Students used to run the entire hostel themselves. So some students used to take care of the dispensary, some students used to take care of the library, some students used to take care of the maintenance work, which is like electrical, carpentry, plumbing, and all that. That again brings us the self-reliance in us, and also the fact that we can contribute to society in a small way, however small it is. Yeah, I was in all of these, by the way. I was in a library in 1 year, I was in dispensary 1 year, maintenance 3 years, and all that. Shocks is common. Shocks are very common. They do happen sometimes because you're little just not thinking. But what happens? Why are we even working on live wires? Sometimes what happens is the entire hostel is studying. They are in the evening hours. Next day is exam. You can't switch off the power and work. And you will have to work on live wire. So what we used to do is we used to take care sometimes, wear some rubber slippers, stand on other rubber slippers, or some gloves were too difficult. Gloves were too tight to wear, right? So we used to work with bare hands. So there are 2-3 times when it happened. Once I was just using I remember that very well, the screwdriver and a tester kind of thing, but it was not insulated. So by mistake, I just touched the non-insulated part while doing this one. So it just, luckily, God's grace, just slipped out of my hand, right? So it happened quite a few times. But that's just the whole inspiration behind is not, nothing to worry about it. All we are worried about is how do you make sure the students don't have trouble and they have to finish their studies. And this is important because one particular room was not having power and we need to give them, otherwise they will not be able to study. That's how we work, right?